Welcome back, you guys. We're going to dive into our next game fairly soon, but first I'm sitting here with David, aka Riot Volty. Now, David, can you explain a little bit what is your function at Riot Games?
Sure. I'm a champion designer at Riot Games. I've been working there for 2.5 years, and I've made 12 champions in that time.
Okay. Now, can you tell us something about the entire process in a couple of paragraphs of going from the idea of a champion to actually releasing it?
Sure. So that's a lengthy process, and I'm primarily responsible for the mechanics, the gameplay for the champion. But I work with a super talented team of sound designers, visual effects artists, animators, composers. I mean, concept artists. Live balance designers, play testers. I mean, I work with a lot of players, a lot of coworkers, and there's so as much as I'm responsible for mechanics, I'm also spending a lot of time communicating, coordinating, making sure that the overall vision for the champion is adhered to throughout all people who are touching that and working on it,
all right,
contributing to it.
You said there's a bunch of champions you worked on. Are there a couple that you're particularly proud of upon release, and some you might be a little less happy about when they were released? Sure.
So this year, for instance, I worked on Draven, Diana, and Kha'Zix, and I'm very proud of all of those, and I think that they're fantastic. It's super cool to see them played in the LCS. Kha'Zix, for instance, it was really cool to see him played yesterday, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited about where we've seen Kha'Zix play has been, and where we're maybe going with Kha'Zix in the future.
Yeah, we're talking about that a little. You have a specific view on Kha'Zix for the future.
Yeah, so it's really important for players to have the experience in playing Kha'Zix of feeling like they have free choice between evolutions, that they could pick between different ones at different times based on the game state, who they're playing against. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, it's a matter of course that here we are, 7 months, whatever, out of Kha'Zix's release, that the W evolution Void Spike is basically really powerful, and people know that at this point. So we're looking to mix things up in the near future, and I'm really excited about that.
Okay. Volibear is also one of your champions,
That's right.
And by the grace of Diamond Frox, Diamond has been played tons. Are you happy with the way he functions in game right now?
So I'm actually really happy with Volibear in game right now. I think that he is a huge frontline presence, which is super cool to see. That's actually really difficult to accomplish in League of Legends, and I think Volibear fills that role really well. He's this intimidating power. He sits on the front line. He controls the space really close to him really well, but he doesn't do a lot of things at range, and he needs the support of a team to take advantage of his awesome opening plays. That said, I've been talking with Morello. We do think that there are really good opportunities to develop Volibear's play in the near future in a way that makes him a little bit more interesting to play than he is right now. So.
All right. Exciting stuff for the future. Now, finally, people always make a lot of posts on the forums and on Reddit about, they jump on a bandwagon when something's up with a champion. How much of attention do you pay to it as an inspiration, or maybe to make some tweaks here and there?
So I read Reddit pretty much every day that I'm at the office, and I pay a lot of attention to it. I'm also on our forums, and it's super great. It's super cool to see the involvement that players have with us, and things like Reddit and Twitter and the forums are really great for engaging with our players, and for talking to them, understanding their points of view, and incorporating that in decisions that we make every day.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much, Riot Volty.
Shucks, thank you.
It's time for Game 4 now, so let's go over to our casters for this one, Freak and Quickshot.
Thank you very much, Shox, and thank you, audience. We can hear their applause in the background. And of course, thank you, David, aka Volty. Thank you for choosing my name, by the way. It makes me feel good to have other Davids at Riot.
I don't think he had a choice. I don't think you had a choice in your name. But that's just my opinion.
So I kind of put it out there in the universe.
Unless you did a champion spotlight on your own birth and called out your skills, I don't think
his parents are telepathic, and they could see the future. And they knew that there would be other great Davids in the world, and they wanted to pair him with other great Davids, and now here we are.
Fair enough. I can respect that.
Thank you. I respect it, too.
All right. So, getting ready for the next game?
Right. So we have games, by the way, eSports and all of that, everybody. Our fourth match of the day is coming. It's Fnatic off against All Authority. Now, Fnatic looked solid yesterday, even in their loss to Gambit, but AAA has been on a tear. Now, we'll see what ends up happening in this match.
It's definitely something we're going to need to keep a very, very close eye on. Yesterday, against Authority, picked up a victory. They picked up another one earlier in the day. And Dude is the star player. He's currently got the highest KDA in the league this season, but he only has one death to his name. And you have to imagine that N-Rated and Yellow Star are going to be out for blood in that bottom lane.
It's definitely a possibility. We've seen guys like specifically target people to bring their KDAs down. Now, if Fnatic lose this match, they will drop to second place behind Gambit. But before we get underway, let's take a look at both these teams' lineups. On Fnatic, we just talked about them. It is going to be Soaz in the top lane, Cyanide in the jungle, Xpeke in mid, and Yellow Star and N-Rated on AD carry and support.
And of course, 4 against All Authority, Freddy122, Virtual, Schleyer, Nono, and Dude. As we were talking about yesterday, he played Janna, played her perfectly. Today, he played Thresh, played him perfectly, and we're going to have to see what he pulls out for this very next matchup. It is also going to be the very, very last time that these two teams meet, because Fnatic are currently 3-0 up against All Authority.
Well, and that's really, you know, Fnatic, right? Like, they're, if nothing else, consistent. Like, okay, sure, they're 1-3 against Gambit, but heck, even that's consistent.
Yeah,
to be fair, it's
the only team that's beating them at the moment.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, they've lost one to Wolves.
Yeah,
they lost one to Wolves in a kind of a very narrow base trade where they couldn't quite close it out.
Chaotic match.
But yeah, they've not. Right, like aside from one game throw and Gambit being phenomenally super good, like they just don't drop games.
No, not at all. So for this particular matchup against Authority, we'll really need to think outside of the box. That's Thresher's box to see how they pick up the victory, because we've seen it being banned out against N-Rated, and it may be picked or banned depending on what Dude wants to do. So we'll see how that plays out.
Well, Dude did first pick it in their win just earlier today and was freaking on point with Thresh Hook. So I gotta say, it's a pretty big deal here. Now, let's actually talk about some individual players and highlight them a little bit. For Fnatic, it's going to be Xpeke.
Now, mid laner for Fnatic, of course, you are saying it in the traditional Spanish name. Xpeke, as the rest of us know him, Saturday's performances yesterday. Twisted Fate twice. He had a very strong performance against SK, camping that bottom lane, picking up kill after kill after kill, and obviously not having as good a time against Fizz. He's currently the playmaker. He's responsible for a lot of this split push strategy, and as we've seen yesterday, if you shut him down, you can control the Fnatic pace. He plays a number of champions, but primarily focusing on those assassins, and champions that have the ability to roam and split push. So we'll see what Xpeke is prepared, because he may be facing off against either Schleyer or Freddy122, depending on how they want to position themselves.
And that's really just kind of depends on what kind of champions they play, because we've talked to them, and it's Freddy who's more keen to play in-your-face assassin-y type guys. And, well, again, you look at the results from before, and it was Fizz that shut him down. So to AA's credit, maybe they want to make sure that Freddy gets an assassin and goes up against him. Now let's talk about AA a little bit. We talked about him a second ago, and that is, of course, Dude in the support role, and actually his AD carry, Nono.
Now, Nono, of course, is the main guy that we're going to be looking at to deal damage here for against All Authority. He's pretty much the key damage dealer, and when Dude is setting him up for kills, like with Thresh earlier, he has a very safe play. He tends to prefer playing Ezreal, but we have, of course, seen him playing, you know, really, really well on champions like Vayne, and, you know, it's definitely the focus for Fnatic to shut him down. If they can pick up kills on Nono early, like they did in the earlier matchup, it's obviously going to set them up very, very well, and that is the man to watch. Okay,
and of course, you know, it's just going to be so key for them to make sure that he gets just damage output available, to make sure that, you know, Warden's Mail don't lock him away and keep him from dealing any damage. Hopefully he can break out and have a great performance. So, you know, for the French fans out there, we'll see if AA can secure a victory on this one.
Yeah, and it's a predominantly French lineup. All 4 French players, with the exception of Freddy122.
Yeah.
The fact that that bottom lane now actually has the synergy and they can communicate maybe a little bit easier. I definitely want to hear from the players who their shot callers are. So, Shocks, if you are listening, find out in the interview afterwards, because it feels as though the playmaker has really stepped up. It's not only the individual lane synergy that's improved, it's the overall team cohesion and teamwork that's actually stepped up as well.
Yeah, they've really brought their AAA game this time. They're playing so much better than they were at the beginning of the season.
That was very well played.
I had a straight face till I saw Joe laughing, and then I couldn't hold it anymore.
Played.
Thank you. But, guys, AAA know they can't afford to make any mistakes in this match, and Fnatic need to be prepared against anything, because AAA does bring out a bunch of unconventional play. So let's see what the players had to say about this match.
We have to be careful not to underestimate AA. We took them last time fairly easily, but I don't think it will stop them from trying some cheesy strats on us next time.
We know Fnatic, it's a strong team. They are famous, they have everything.
When it comes to AAA, you can never be sure. They might cheese you, they might pull up some random strategy, and they do a lot of lane swaps against us, which are very unconventional.
They are not unbeatable, but if we do one mistake, it's gonna cost us so much.
So we have to be really, really careful when it comes to facing them.
Well, you heard it right there. They've got to be vigilant. They've got to be ready. And right now, again, I think Fnatic are the wardens. They're the ones that, you know, they're the authority that Against All Authority needs to combat. And it's going to be an interesting matchup, really.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one for Against All Authority. They've just got this new support player in there. We really have been talking about a lot this weekend for good reason. But now the pressure is on. This is arguably AAA's hardest matchup of the weekend, and it is against the current first-place team in the season. We've talked about it already. If Fnatic lose this, their win percentage will actually drop them below Gambit, and it'll push them to second place. So Fnatic are trying to hold on to that gold medal right now, and AAA are just trying to dethrone the current league champions.
And it's interesting as well because it's really the big testing ground for AAA. They're undefeated so far in this weekend, and this is really like, okay, guys, you've beaten guys in the bottom four. You know, you're looking good, the French team, but do you have what it takes to combat the top four? Copenhagen Wolves, they've said, yeah, we had a bad start to the season. We're happy with 5th place here. We're going to look for top 4 in the second half if we can stay in. I think AAA are in the same place. They look so strong. Right, we just saw them with a couple of really, really great victories in a row. They're another team where it's like, you guys are looking really good for top 5 and really good for top 4 next half. Can you beat Fnatic now?
Yeah, exactly. The fact that they've taken out both Dragonborns and Giants in very convincing wins, who of course the two teams below them right now, is solidifying that mindset and that thinking. What we can see though is from the bans, some very, very quick bans coming out, clear game plans and strategies from both of these teams.
Yeah, so apparently they don't really want to play Assassin versus TF. They're like specifically banning the heck out of Peke, and then of course the Kha'Zix thrown towards Soaz. And the other side, I mean, they're just aimed. I mean, so is the fighter.
So, a couple of big things to take note of. Zed is still available, as is Job on the 4th. We've seen a ban out against Fnatic yesterday. So, those are key players to be looking at. Lulu is still available, so is Thresh, so is Varus. So, a lot of high-priority champions are in the mix and are available for selection. And it's going to be up to both these teams to determine who is the most valuable. We've seen Yellow Star having Varus ban out against him yesterday. And arguably, it's his strongest AD carry at this moment, and you can see first picked.
And I would agree with that in general. And the one thing I also want to point out, though, is, of course, the Elise instant locked in for AA. I know Jason made that call last time, where if you leave that unbanned, they'll try to pick it up, and that was the last ban. But it's interesting that they grab Lulu away, even with Thresh available, but his famous Leona for N-rated is still available.
Yeah, exactly. So Leona is there if N-rated decides to go that route. I see Virtual, he's locked in Lulu right now, but he's sitting on Ghost and Smite. That immediately tells me he's going to be considering somebody like a Nasus, somebody like a Volibear in the jungle, somebody who needs to get in there. Could be somebody like a Hecarim as well, but he's not picked quite as frequently as, you know, the dog and the crocodile that we're currently seeing. No, not a crocodile. Nasus the bear. Sorry, dog and the bear.
Yeah.
So, you know...
The crocodile's banned.
The crocodile is banned. So we'll see, you know, who they decide to prioritize, if Virtual is going to be comfortable enough taking somebody like Volibear, if it is still free and available. But so many champions there for Fnatic still to pick and to play with. The fact that they've got Varus, they can now decide who they want in the support role, and it does look like it's going to be that Leona.
It is. So there is a virtual zoo of champions available for this AAA jungler. Only the dog really been removed from that line. Yeah, I know. We'll see what ends up coming out from him. But it's interesting because AA have not really shown any of their lanes very much. I mean, Lulu, you can pick her in and against any matchup, whereas we know exactly what Fnatic are running in the bottom lane. And I think if you didn't ban any AD carry supports, you would have expected that lineup anyway. And so Against All Authority are completely confident fighting those champions.
So I want to see who they're going to put in this bottom lane for Nono, because he played Misfortune yesterday, did very, very well with Misfortune when comboed with Janna, getting that Eye of the Storm, the additional damage. Misfortune not necessarily the fastest wave clear, but neither is Ezreal, who is sort of known as fallback champion. So we may see something new coming out here, like the likes of a Caitlyn, and you can see the look of focus on his eyes there, and there's a lot of discussion going on. Who is he going to pick? Who do they want to actually put into this matchup? Job on the 4th is currently still being hovered over for Virtual, and that's most likely going to be the jungler for AAA if it is locked in.
And this right here shows, wow, Against All Authority barely switching their picks out at the last second. It's going to be Orianna. So they're blind picking their mid laner here.
So Orianna, again, a champion that Slayer used earlier today, when comboed with Thresh, we had a number of those Shockwave goodbye ultimates from that champion to really shut down the Giants members. So I like the pick. We've already seen him playing, and it's a comfortable position for Slayer to be in. And if you could add up the damage combination of both Orianna and Elise, and having, you know, the potential for Command Protect, Repel, Shockwave, that's a very, very guaranteed ultimate landing for Orianna.
It's going to be really, really strong. And right now we see that Peke is considering Kassadin. We saw Exterminari actually run that against the mid lane of Against All Authority, and it actually worked quite well, as that Orianna was really not able to shove him out. But Fnatic still making some decisions in their minds overall. And ooh, they've got a lot of damage to go with a whole lot of lockdown. They've locked in the Rumble.
Okay, so Rumble's locked in. We've seen a fantastic Rumble from Kevin yesterday, SK against Evil Geniuses. He hit each and every single equalizer spot on. They did combo that, of course, with a Twisted Fate gold card and some additional CC around there. So if you synergize the Wither, along with all of the CC, the slows, the stuns that Leona's going to be putting down, that's a lot of damage from equalizer. Locking in the Ahri is an interesting pick. Wants to play at range, maybe staying away from Orianna, and just trying to avoid anything that, you know, Slayer is going to be putting down. But we haven't been blown away by the Orianna performances we have seen in the last 2 weeks here in the EU LCS.
Yeah, I mean, the last one I saw that was good, I think, was the Against All Authority game. It's the best Orianna I've seen. Blow away, no. I think the game in general was already well in hand, but we'll see what ends up coming out here. And, you know, Nono, of course, still deciding what AD carry he wants to grab. This Fnatic lineup, though, I like a lot, because you have Peke on a sort of comfort pick of an assassin, a highly mobile roamer. The difficulty, though, is this isn't something like TF or Zed, or I guess something like Zed or Katarina, where you're not 1v1ing so hard necessarily. Like, the duels from Ahri are all right, but not at that same level, I would feel like Zed.
It's also a lot more difficult to get 100% of your damage combo down for a number of reasons. The fact that your W and your R have those sort of homing missile segments attached to them, unless you catch your opponent out 100% solo, some of that damage can go awry. Add to that your Q and your E are then skill shot based. If they miss, if they dodge, if the movement speed buff from Orianna puts some distance between yourself and your aim, all of a sudden you lose out portions of that damage, and it's not guaranteed. So I'd like to see how this matchup, you know, works out. But if anybody is going to be able to make Ahri work in that mid lane, it's going to be Ekis, because his play is just fantastic, and he is the most solid player out of any of the EU mid laners at the moment.
He definitely seems the most consistent. He's just had a whole lot of just power overall in these games. As we look on these lineups, of course, we did have Nono pick in and lock in that comfort champion of Ezreal. Of course, that's not going to any weird side lane. It's not like AD Orianna, AP Ezreal mid. Standard pickups here. And now you can see the players on your screen. That is Fnatic. Soaz, he looks concerned, which is interesting to me, right? You contrast him with Nono, who like literally is always smiling, even when upset. They will lose horribly, and he is grinning ear to ear. But certainly, like, game faces are on. These guys are ready to go. Once again, to recap what this game means, Fnatic's first place is at stake here. This is a changed Against All Authority, who are still in the battle for 5th, 6th, certainly holding on to that top 6 right now. But they've looked so strong this past weekend. This might be a completely transformed team that can challenge even the best teams in the league.
And that is the entire reason that look of concern is on the members of Fnatic's faces. They are playing to hold on to first spot. They're playing against a team which has a fairly large unknown factor in the form of DU. They don't really know what to expect from this engagement, and it's a different team. They've got a good, you know, match record against them of 3-0, but this is the very last time they will play. So we do have a quick disconnect-related problem for Slayer. He will be rejoining the matchup very, very soon. And for the time being, all eyes and all pressures on Fnatic. You know, if AAA lose, well, they were the underdogs coming into this matchup anyway. It was sort of expected. So, you know, all eyes, all focus, all attention being on Fnatic, it adds that extra weight and that extra pressure to your game.
Well, Fnatic is an organization and largely a group of players that have been competing at the top level since forever. Whether they were under the Fnatic banner or not, once again, their AD carry and their top laner were on the old Against All Authority back in Season 1, where they battled at the Season 1 finals. Of course, Fnatic did win that matchup. They've since brought those two players onto the fold. So these guys, I mean, they've been competing under larger stages for more prize money, you know, for 3 years at this point. So certainly, they can't feel too shooken up at this point. They're certainly veterans.
Yeah, that's the truth, you know, and that's really the testament between the top 4 and the bottom 4 teams is how much competitive experience and how much they can draw from those past tournaments and events and put themselves in a good position for this matchup. A lot of eyes are going to be on N-Rated Leona. It has been a good couple of weeks since we last saw him playing on the Valkyrie herself. So I'd like to see how they're going to combo out, but I definitely like the idea of the Solar Flare and that Chain of Corruption. It's a very powerful combo that could lock up opponents for a long time.
Yeah, and of course you could see the GLHFs coming out on the screen over the back of, I think that was N-Rated. I wasn't actually watching that closely. But these guys, of course, typing fast and furious, getting ready to go as they start heading off across the rift. Now, all of Fnatic actually charging headlong. They're going to find Nona right here. Autohacks come up. They get the slow as well. He's going to have to learn Arcane Shift at level 1 and jump across the wall.
Not entirely the end of the world for that low-level engage, but at least managed to put Nono a little bit on the back foot. Take careful note that he's taken Cleanse for this matchup. He really wants to avoid some of that CC that's going to be putting down from a number of the Fnatic opponents.
Every single person.
Yeah, exactly. Every single one of them has some form of CC on board. They did manage to sneak into the AAA Tribush, but deciding to back away, not wanting to risk any early deaths.
Now, they just put one down in the middle, and the funny thing is, they could have warded Blue if they wanted to, and decided to save the ward. And Alex, they get the charm off into Virtual, though. He might be burning some summoners as well. The Spirit Fire is down, and he does have to burn Flash. So that's Nono learning E, Virtual chugging a potion and flashing away, and he's going to be a little bit slow to the start of his jungle as well.
So a little bit slow indeed. Fnatic Xpeke starting off with Charm as well. So at the very least, if he, they go for any sort of level 2 gank, that is going to help out, but it's going to affect his lane presence just a little bit at the very outset, and we'll see if Schleyer can make any sort of advantage from that. It does look like against Authority wants to do a lane swap, and they've stuck their Ezreal Lulu combo up in the top lane to face off against Soaz's Rumble.
All right, so we'll see how this matchup ends up panning out. Fnatic right now, Cyanide is going to be going up to his Lizard buff. Double Golem is just completed by N-Rated and Yellow Star, and we're just seeing pretty similar stuff, of course. Against Authority, have lane swapped, put their duo lane up top. They've taken Double Golems as well, so it's going to be a bunch of 2-on-1s. Both Elise and Rumble actually function pretty similarly in that they don't need a ton of gold. They're both going to build similar items early on, and so both getting starved out won't hurt either team's plans too much.
And I want to talk about the runes and masters we're seeing just a little bit here. Xpeke deciding to go for ability power off the gate. So at level 1 he has 26 AP and 53 AD, not going for those AD reds that we've seen from Ocelot last weekend when he was playing against Alexis Kassadin, or like we've seen from Shushay earlier today where he was also playing those AD runes, trying to get those auto attack damage down in the early levels.
Yeah, that tends to be an anti-melee thing much more than just a default one-on-one. It depends on your playstyle. I know some AP mids who will run them even in range versus range matchups and try to bully, just not the case here. I like what happened right there. A ward came down from Virtual before he went back into his camp, just to make sure no one was coming in to steal from below. So that's a really smart move there. He will get the blue buff securely. And actually we see Cyanide holding this lane for Soaz. Their double AoE should be pretty easy to crush down minion waves.
And this is definitely something that we're seeing a little bit more of as of late. Because of this 3-minute 30 dive being slightly less frequent, all you can do is just share some of that experience, get your jungler some additional levels a little bit earlier, and of course, spreading the love around your team, that definitely is going to help everybody out in the long run. So good call from Cyanide to help defend, protecting some of the damage against the turret as well.
Yeah, it's going to do a little bit for them. Of course, on the other side of the map, we do see that 2-on-1 not hampered nearly as much by Jarvan. Of course, the turret, she wasn't taking too much damage. N-Rated on Leona. Leona's not the best 2v1 champion. She has to sit in melee range to damage turrets and to aggro the enemy champion. Also has to get in a melee range, which risks getting counterattacked. So it's really the Yellow Star show down here.
Yeah, the one thing that does play into their favor, if Freddy does get caught up by Zenith Blade, the kill potential is going to be a little bit higher than that of Lulu. So you've got, again, two sort of differences in approach here. You've got the safe, secure Lulu, who's going to be responsible for protecting a teammate, protecting her allies. Whereas in the bottom lane, it's going to be for a kill. We do see Virtual going in, and it does look like they're going to force the flash.
Yeah, that's really, really nice play right there. He did charm Jarvan, but of course he was already in flight. Great pickup overall. So let's look around the map. Soaz is actually roaming around early on, though he did walk by a ward early on when he did that. He's been pinged, actually. They know he is around there, and he's still walking towards the mid lane. I don't know if they're just trying to... Oh, they're going to get it to go in on a Freddy, though. He's down to half health already. Exhaust is on as well. He jumps into Spider form. He's gonna jump up in the air, goes to the left-hand side. The flash comes in. That's going to be first blood picked up for Yellow Star. Great aim by him.
Exactly the point we were talking about. Land the CC, lock the spider up, crush her beneath your boot, and pick up first blood on your AD carry. It was really well played. Freddy should not have been that far overextended. You can see that Fnatic had some vision in the bottom lane, but you can't risk going past the river in a 1 versus 2, especially in a 1 versus 2 with the Leona.
And speaking of going past river in a 1 versus 2, look how far back Xpeke is actually holding himself, knowing that Virtual wants to come back because he's not level 6 and does not have flash. I mean, he is like practically out of experience range right now. He knows how scary Jarvan is. Yes, he had a ward down there. He has timed up at this point, though. It's still an unknown at this point. And you're seeing, though, Soaz still stuck in this 1v2.
Soaz doing fairly well in that little engagement. He's put a lot of damage down onto your dude with that Flamespoon Electro Harpoon. But hold up for a second as Virtual goes in.
Yeah, that was close. That was absolutely close right there. Peke did manage to back off in time. Virtual broke Fog of War on the entrance. Now Cyanide looping around to the side. I don't know if he's going to get much done. He's just putting a replacement ward down there and going kind of back to his jungle.
And that goes back to what we were talking about with Xpeke. Feeling the pressure, he knew Virtual wanted to set up a gank, knowing that the flash wasn't down and not having that ultimate to dash around. So he calls for some assistance. Cyanide puts a ward down and prevents Virtual from retrying the same trick. Cyanide still on point, realizing Virtual wants blood. He's literally going to bash head-to-head with Jarvan in just a moment.
All right, the ward coming out from Cyanide doesn't even... Actually, of course, they do know that Virtual came by because they had a ward right there by the entrance. And Soaz is keeping himself into the heated up zone. He's waiting. Yeah, he's in the danger zone. He's going to actually land a slow and a Virtual. He's going to jump right across the wall and say, nope, just kidding.
It does look like they're going for this. Cyanide is ghosted up.
All right, they're going to put the Spirit Fire down, the Q coming from Cyanide as well, but even with Wither, they just don't want to go for this one. Soaz not level 6, and they said 3-on-2, not the best odds, actually.
Yeah, do not want any of that, so they do decide to just back off. And again, good play from Cyanide, good map awareness to be there, but he burnt the Summoner spell, so keep that in mind for the next couple of minutes, that he's not going to have that extra burst of speed when he really needs it. Down in the bottom lane, Yellow Star and Enrated freezing this lane up really, really effectively. They're denying at least the farm, but they're going aggressive in top.
And that was a really excellent exhaust as well. It actually helped keep Nono alive. Even once the Equalizer goes down, exhaust can then be used and it will lower the damage output, so Nono will survive that one. Soaz did not save his turret in time, though. So what I'm curious to see is, will that get traded back? Because you just saw Dude recall back. Nono's going to be doing the exact same thing, and if Fnatic does not kill this bottom turret in the next 30 seconds, they won't get another chance for a while, and it seems like they're happy to just freeze it.
So this is the play that they're going for. They're hedging their bets on denying CS to Freddy and trying to deter his ability to level as opposed to pushing the lane. Leona, not a lane pusher at all, really, and I don't believe that bottom tower has taken much damage, if any, against All Authority. And keep in mind that this is 3.5, so the Rumble ultimate has been reworked. It doesn't deal, that burst of damage initially, but it does tick instantly. And at level 1, it's ticking 30 damage per second at its base value, which is a huge number.
It is huge indeed, Quick Shot. So that's going to be one thing to keep in mind here. Joe again laughing, because it's just an easy joke at this point. But Nono and Enraider are into the bottom lane. They go in for the ult, but he dashes away just in time to not get dropped down. But he's still getting pushed on. Has to flash away from the Q. Trevor, what's that one called? Piercing Arrow.
Piercing Arrow.
Yes, indeed. That was
being charged up. But the Chain of Corruption missed. Now Peke finds himself in trouble.
And he's been knocked up. A great revive. Virtual still dashing away, but it's not going to be enough. Nice pickup there against All Authority, finding a kill.
Now Enrated still out for blood. He's pushed on the bottom.
But he is so overextended, has only 300 health left, getting chased down. Ezreal comes across, and it finds one. Yellow Star, the flash in from Dude gets a slow. Barrier is there, but will it be enough? Because here comes Virtual. He's going to pick that one up. 3-1 now against All Authority.
Very good play from against All Authority, managing to pick up kills all over the map. They survived the pressure on the bottom lane from Yellow Star and Enrated. That allowed them to turn the gank around and actually pick kills up. Enrated going way too deep behind enemy lines.
Yeah.
Because of the kills, they feel they had position on Dragon, but luckily Cyanide and Soaz are here to stop it.
And the funny thing about that too was Fnatic fought that battle before going to buy. It was Doran's Blade versus Doran's Blade Boots BF Sword in the bottom lane. He's since died, of course, Yellow Star, and he's bought some items for himself, but that was actually pretty rough. The First Blood Gold did not do anything in that fight. So, again, an amazing battle by against All Authority. Great ganks from Virtual as well. And now Schley will be given this blue buff. he's going to like that quite a bit.
And really good positional play from Virtual there in that river battle, because he threw the flag down on top of the ridge so he could actually pull himself up onto there, following Xpeke's Ari after she dashed across. So I really like the play. We've seen Nasus is doing this around 8 or 9 minutes in many games this weekend, and it looks like Cyanide's going to try solo that dragon just with the use of his ultimate. That percentage HP damage is just so strong.
And it is doing a pretty good job for him. You can see no one's even trying to stop him just yet, and Yellowstar comes by just to get an assist on that dragon kill. There's going to be Cyanide with the credit on that one. Amazing pickup, because he did that all under sight of a ward, but AA had all just recalled back. So again, nice little turnaround there. You can see the gold. 13.3 thousand to 13.2 thousand. This game is basically equal right here. This is going to be a very good match.
It is resting on a knife edge, and any mistakes are going to be punished, as we noticed in that bottom lane. I think that Yellowstone and Rated got a little overconfident there. They got good damage down onto Nono, decided to engage, but a few ultimates missed. That Chain of Corruption in particular really could have helped them out. Xpeke now just doing the best he can to farm up, and we're seeing actually lower CS numbers from our mid lanes than we're used to, but they've gone in.
And the nice shockwave goes off, and Xpeke is not going to like the one very much. Dashes away. Oh my gosh, Virtual getting chugged under the turret, but no, slays Xpeke with the ignite. Great pickup.
Yeah, very well played. They comboed all their abilities, landed every single spell that they needed to, and they had just enough damage there to actually pick up the kill. So Peke, he survived a couple of seconds longer, but it wasn't enough to actually give him, the ability to survive in its entirety. So 4-1 up against All Authority have started off strong, but they haven't converted those kills into a noticeable gold lead just yet, thanks to some good farming and obviously that dragon pickup by Fnatic earlier in the matchup.
All right, now we can see there that against All Authority, though, they're the ones actually pressuring this bottom lane. It's a 1 versus 2. Yellowstar has some good damage with Piercing Arrow, but he's still in a 1v2. This could be rough. Does clear the waves, a little bit of damage to the turret, but that will survive.
So at the moment, Fnatic are not really setting themselves up for too many plays. We've seen Cyanide primarily covering lanes as opposed to really trying to put pressure and pick up kills. On the other side of the coin, you've got Diud and Nono who push down the top turret. Now they've moved this bottom lane, they're pushing the bottom turret, and against All Authority, this is them in control right now. They're setting the pace, they're setting the tempo. We've seen more presence and pressure from Virtual than we've really seen from Cyanide, and it bodes well for them if they can continue this for the next 10 or 15 minutes.
And it's going to look pretty good for the French team overall. So, see what they're going to go for next. Right now, they've not really started anything. There's no easy objectives on the map. You're seeing, the bottom lane trade back and forth, nothing really grabbed there. Of course, Soaz has already lost his top turret, so there's not much that can be done there either. So we've hit kind of a laning phase again now for against All Authority. And this will be interesting because this is now a battle of mechanics. You look at the gold lead, 16.2 to 16.2 basically. What you're going to see over the next couple of minutes is who's got better mechanics and better one-on-one fighting.
And you see Soaz and Freddy going one-on-one up in the top lane, trading some damage. Ultimate is available, but Nono's been caught.
And a lot of stuns onto him. The ult comes by as well, but he cleanses it immediately, tries to run away. Exhaust is on the Lulu ult as well. Ult comes off from Nono. They're still trying to face this one down. Of course, Exhaust is stopping Yellowstar from doing anything. And Nono, of course, is huge there with that wild growth. And he just pokes everyone back.
Such good micromanagement from N-Rated there. He was waiting for the E to come out, and Nono, they're still in trouble.
And he jumps right back in, but here comes Virtual as well, and suddenly that's the danger zone. They're trying to run away. N-Rated down to 300 health, Yellowstar down to 500, and Rated flashes back. Q comes out, Dunk comes out as well from Virtual. Will Yellowstar trade back? Looks like he's not going to want to. E comes out, dodges the Mystic shot. He's going to go for the snipe, but Soaz forced to run away from the turret. It's Cyanide that helps pick up the kill, Ignite making that one happen. But here comes Peke down to the bottom. It's Virtual who's going to be in danger. Lands the charm. What a charming shot that was. Peke, the shield there, the Ignite, not going to be able to kill him. So just a 1-4-1 across the map.
Yeah, 1-for-1. They get top laner for support, so you have to feel Fnatic will be a little bit happier about that one. It also allows him to deny some CS and put pressure, but the shockwave goes down.
And it's a lot more damage than a Yellowstar, but as in the immortal words of Joe, it's more of a meh wave, not a lot of AP just yet onto Shlaya, so not a kill picked up there. Top turret will go down though, so Fnatic makes that one happen.
So top lane, after that entire engagement, Fnatic come out a little bit superior. They get a tower trade, as well as a noticeable CS advantage now on their top laner, Rumble. Elise is falling behind, 65 to 87, and all of a sudden our mid laners are duking it out in this bottom lane. They rotated because of the battle, and now you've got Xpeke and Shlaya going toe-to-toe until one of them decides to recall and shop.
And we'll see what ends up happening from that. Of course, the ward coverage, a little bit equal on both sides, actually. Pink wards in both those bottom brushes. Virtual grabs his Lizard buff up for himself. So so he will continue to be a big ganking threat. It's interesting though to point out these two junglers because you've got a 17 minion kill lead for Cyanide, but a 3 kill lead for Virtual and Jarvan.
Let's actually have a look at how much gold that equates to when you look at the differences. 3,600 there for Cyanide to 3,800 for Virtual. So the Dragon and, definitely keeping them in game as well as that 20 CS. Not really making too much of a noticeable difference elsewhere on the team. Blue buff is secured there for Slayer. We'll have a look at the items just as we get back into this matchup. So Enrated now positioning himself in this mid lane. You can see that Yellow Star's moving there as well in reply to having both Nono and Dude there. It does look like Nono is going to be going for an Infinity Edge first. So it's not traditional on Ezreal's, but it works really well.
I'm actually a really big fan of that myself, just because his team does not have a lot of persistent frontline damage threats. Orianna's a bit utility focused. Freddy's going to be generally going into the back line with Virtual to kill, to assassinate the squishies, and so it's Nono to hit things in the front line.
It's going to be interesting to see how Freddy is going to be playing that Elise role, because he's currently got a Negatron Cloak and a Kindle Gem. So his base numbers are very, very good on, both Spider Form and Human Form Q, but there's not a lot of ability power to back that one up. So we'll see how effectively he can, get some of those base numbers down and then rely on Nono to close it out. But I definitely like the combination, the potential combo of having, Elise go in there with that Repel, follow it up with a Cataclysm or Wild Growth, etc. Dragon instantly respawns, and Fnatic have positioning and vision at this moment in time. AAA will be aware that it's happening because they do have some wards around, and they are fairly well placed to pick a fight.
Well, you're seeing the mid lane getting shoved down by AAA, so the minions will meet exactly in the middle, and they won't go anywhere until someone does something about it. The two mid laners right now at the bottom half of the map, wave clearing back and forth as well, and that's going to do the exact same thing here. The minions will meet in the middle, and they will just kind of sit there. And of course, top lane, no turrets are even close to being threatened. So it's going to be an interesting minion push here. It's Fnatic who shoves the mid lane down once again. AA must react.
So the previous time Dragon was picked up, Fnatic were putting pressure on the mid lane, and they allowed Cyanide's Nasus to solo Drake. He turned his ultimate on, and he took it down alone. This time around, Nasus is needed in the team fight. They need to shut down somebody's movement speed and attack speed if they pick up those engagements. And Fnatic are actually being forced back because it is a 4 versus 5 engagement, as Xpeke is applying pressure on the bottom lane.
He is applying pressure, and the thing is, even though AA are pushing the mid lane, there's so much wave clear available to Fnatic. They're going to go in anyway, 5-on-4. Look at the burst damage onto everybody. It's going to be the fire on backside, and trying to run away will drop to Ignite. Schley taking a bunch of damage in the back. Elise repelling back up, but the kill is still found out of Jarvan, but they fire one back. It's going to be Yellowstar taken down. Now comes Pekka from the backhand side. He finds Dude. That's going to crush his KDA in half. He's waiting. He pops the ultimate double kill, and only Schley is alive.
Wow. The two things that happened there, right? Solar Flare locked up and stunned the entirety of Against All Authority, and Soaz's Equalizer from Rumble just shredded HP bars. It decimated the health of the French team. Slayer, however, did get, I believe, a 4-man shockwave, 3 or 4 man under the tower, which in itself was fantastic. But what a reply from Fnatic to go 4 versus 5 and trade, I believe, 4 for 1 in that fight. I was at a complete loss for words when I seen the combo.
They all went in a line, and that is the area of effect crowd control combo we see from just a number of teams, both sides of the pond in the LCS. It's a couple of lockdowns with Rumble, and it just destroys team fights. If you all go in together, it's easy to land the spells, and you're just stuck there getting burned to death. Now, Virtual is looking at Dragon, but he is spotted by a Groover on the side. We'll see if Fnatic can stop this one. AA are starting out hardcore.
Fnatic are going to have to be a little bit careful because they don't have a lot of abilities, ultimates available, and it ends up going, getting taken down completely for free. They decided not to contest it at all, and it just gives AAA a little bit of gold to help even themselves out.
Well, and we can see now 25,000 to 27.8, certainly pretty close in this game, just shy of 3 grand to separate the two. Nono and Dude. Dude actually jukes the W from Nono, so no attack speed gained there. Yellowstar, again, just being forced to keep his turret alive. Neither of these bottom ones have gone down yet.
Yeah, not just yet. So, at the moment, Yellowstar, 165 CS. He's slowly pulling ahead in terms of those CS numbers, even on kills, even on assists, but going a different route in terms of his items. So, going to have a little bit more sustain in these fights, and obviously will be able to regenerate that health if they decide to go for those prolonged sieges. If he takes any poke from his opponents, he'll be able to just auto-attack some creep waves, generate that HP back, and continue the siege. So if Fnatic play that sort of slower type game, waiting for the correct opportunity, it obviously will play into their favor a little bit. Virtual sniffing around the bottom lane, but decides to back away.
All right, now I want to kind of point out some of the builds right here. So the Infinity Edge is done for Nono, but something that is interesting and new to me is look at Schley and Peke. So Schley went Rod of Ages, and he's now starting on, looks like Morella Namicon, versus the early Athenes on Holy Grail for Peke.
So Peke obviously going for the cooldown reduction as well as the mana regen of Athenes. When we've seen Peke playing sort of these skill shot champions in the past, actually when he's played Orianna in the past, he tends to just spam his abilities, get them out as quickly as possible. In the bottom lane, Nono's been caught.
And he actually arcade shifts forward into the enemy team. Look at the CC combo there, just immediately blows up. I don't know if it was a misclick or if he thought he'd juke things that way, but either way it did not work. Fnatic finds that one, and the Rumble ultimate actually keeps AAA from taking down the mid turret.
So Soaz is able to defend the mid turret with the equalizer. He's got Rylei's Crystal Scepter as well as a Haunting Guy. So get that magic penetration and the slow to just stack and make it even more effective. It buys him time to push up the middle lane, and now you see on the bottom, Yellow Star is going to carry on chasing with Enrated because there's no one to reply. They picked up the kill, and they're going to get a lot of free damage on this inner turret.
It's going to be going down to 2/3 right now, maybe down below half as well. And of course, the team is going to back them up. They know Freddy's at the top half. They've got a complete numbers advantage right here. That Golem is going to go down, and they might just stay for this turret. They will actually. Blue buff is stolen, and they've also taken 2 turrets in a row.
Completely for free tower and completely uncontested blue. Now, fair enough, Nono was not available. He tried to snipe it with True Shot Barrage. It did not manage to work, and very good play from Fnatic, realizing the numbers advantage and realizing the presence and the pressure that they had. Not to be, outdone, however, Freddy replies with some damage of his own, gets a good number of creeps up in that top lane, and, luckily Soaz is able to recall in time to at least pick up a few of those stragglers.
And there you can see the value of good wave clear. Schlea was in the mid lane, got stopped by Rumble, did not get around to that right-hand side in time. Of course, now you're seeing it fire right back. Schlea, Nono, and Co are running in for this one, and no one is around for Fnatic. That's going to be a free mid turret. And it's interesting to see, normally the high tier teams are always just diligent and able to block these turret kills.
It is actually very interesting because of the fact that these teams are all over the place. We had, a fairly dramatic fight on the bottom blue side tower that resulted in both bot lane red towers going down. Because of that, it allowed Freddy to push top lane, which meant a lot of Fnatic's focus was like, okay, top lane, top lane. They went back to shop, but they couldn't get to mid lane in time, and all of a sudden, Against All Authority could pick up their second tower of the game. So, back and forth chess, game being played with each team saying, well, I'll move my pawn to B3 and you move your bishop to C8 or whatever. And, they're picking the right moves at the right time and securing the towers.
All right, well, we'll see if AAA can move as 5 and find something for themselves. Move it on around. Peke is still chilling in the mid lane, has, of course, that stolen blue buff. Dude actually is starting to ward sweep a little bit, so he's putting pressure over Baron Nashor. They do run away from Yellow Star. Nice slow comes out onto him. Dragon up in 2 minutes. Baron, of course, available. And just a wealth of sight on both sides here.
Yeah, a lot of vision available. Fnatic playing the numbers. They know where their opponents are, and they're putting pressure up in this top lane. Cyanide is hanging around in that bush, and they've got in on Soaz. He flashed the ulti.
Oh, the last possible second he got away from that one. If Schlea had gotten the shockwave down just a fraction of a second earlier, they would have found that one. But of course, with so many members committed top lane, Fnatic has a free push on this mid lane. They've taken I wouldn't say unanswered, but they've taken 3 turrets in a row without anyone stopping them.
And they've caught out Freddy. They've locked him in place. The Solar Flare goes down.
He does flash Solar Flare and actually goes back in. Peke is now caught alone. He drops down 1v2, does not kill anyone. Cyanide now in the mix, and Rated is nearby as well, but it looks like they're outnumbered at this point. Fnatic are forced to run away. Cyanide taking damage, knocked into the air. Schlea finds that kill. Soaz caught alone as well. He has not found anyone. However, Yellow Star does fire back on the jungler Freddy. He just might survive, but Fnatic are not done fighting. They find a bit of damage on a Nono. Will it be enough? Looks like the answer is no. No, they will not have enough. 3 for 1 there. AAA win that fight.
3 for 1 trade. Nobody touched Yellow Star. It could have gone better if Yellow Star was a little bit closer or a little bit able to put damage. It's not over yet, though. He's going to sustain some HP. Can he catch anyone else?
Well, Yellow Star is pretty much staying at full health by hitting minions. Of course, Nono, not nearly the same amount of sustain. He went 2 Doran's Blades and no Vamp Scepter. So it's hard for his health bar to stay up in a long fight.
And in that particular engagement, they managed to catch Fnatic out. Fnatic, they did one of 2 things. They either baited AAA to the top lane and then rolled into the mid to pick up the inner turret, or they realized AAA are going top, pull a regression, keep them busy, and will cheekily pick up the tower. What they didn't count on is the speed of the reprise attack, the counter attack that Against All Authority put down, and it ended up costing them those kills. Gold, though, is fairly even for most of the lanes, with the exception of top and AD carry, which you can see is a fair chunk difference, actually, thanks to the 3 towers and obviously a good amount of CS.
Yeah, I believe it's, what, 2 unanswered dragons, if I remember properly. Yeah. Of course, the next one is back alive. We'll see if Fnatic can go for the hat trick here. Ready, 1, 2, 2, Nono and Shlaya chilling up in the mid lane. The rest of their team grouping up as well. Both teams know this is going to be the next major force on the map, is who can take over Dragon. Soaz stands on top of a ward. They definitely know where Fnatic is.
They definitely know where he is indeed. And Xpeke, he upgraded that Nizi large rod into the Deathfire Grasp. We've seen that earlier today. His burst potential is very, very high. And look for him to land a charm, followed up with DFG and absolutely everything else. Fnatic have got positioning and timing on Drake. They've started it. AAA are coming from the side. They've got vision. Will they pick a fight?
Well, they don't seem to just yet. Of course, the Dragon has been taken for free. So as chugs through a volatile Spiderling. And AAA trying to pull an EG right here, rushing down the mid turret while Fnatic's on the other side.
They need to be a little bit careful because Soaz has the equalizer available. If he puts it down and the rest of the team collapse, they could be in trouble, but they've avoided him for the time being. Peke and the rest of crew are a little bit out of position. Can they pull up this fight?
Well, Virtual takes a bunch of damage, but he's actually going to go initiate onto this battle. Gets charmed up. Look at the burst damage on him, though. He's not in a good place. Gets the wild growth as well. Who's going to take the most damage? Cyanide finds the kill on a Virtual. 2 are dead as Freddy goes down as well. Soaz in the back line dealing a bunch. Peke finds another assassination. It's going to be death after death after death. The Yud goes down. What? A nice shockwave tries to keep Shlaya alive, but he's now alone, and he's going to go down as well. Fnatic, triple kill for Yellowstar and an ace.
Triple kill for Yellowstar. They singled out each target for Against All Authority. Soaz deserves a naughty badge because his equalizer zoned out 3 members of AAA completely. He put it down on the river bush and he denied Nono, Diud, and Shlaya for getting into that fight completely. Thanks to the Rylai's Crystal Scepter and thanks to the slow that his ultimate has regardless. They pick up the inhibitor turret, probably the inhibitor as well. Only 5 seconds on the clock. They're going to get that for free and walk away.
They do get that one. Excellent grab right there, Fnatic. They could have gone Baron, said, no, we'd rather take the inhibitor and use the map control. So those of you wondering, at least in this game right now, when the choice is in front of you, Fnatic chose inhibitor.
It's a wise decision because of the fact that Against All Authority have been playing the map very well themselves. They've actually traded towers a number of times, and you know there has been some back and forth. So Fnatic feeling that if they can buy time on the map and steal other objectives, it'll play into their favor. The fact that they've all been low and forced to recall means Against All Authority are going to get a lot of free time on this Baron, and they've got a huge amount of damage with that Infinity Edge Zeal No-No. So they're chunking it down to about 50%. A couple of members of Fnatic are close by. Can they pick up any sort of steal?
It's going to be really close. Baron is down to about 1/3 health. Peke finds a little bit of harass on a Shlaya, but not nearly enough. They're being slowed down as well, and Raider wants to go in. Will they find the steal they're looking for? Blue team has stolen Baron Dasher. Then here comes the burst damage. Cleanup crew is here. 1, 2, 3 kills so far. Can they chase anyone else down? Shlaya and Nono trying to run away. Flash coming from Xpeke. He's coming from above on this side right now, but the dissonance comes out. That should be enough to make AA run away. Problem is, they don't have much of a base. Peke looks for the charm, finds it onto Nono, slowing him down. Nono goes in for the fight, 1v1, flashing away past the turret. Cyanide, though, in onto Shlaya. Does Shlaya have what it takes to get away? No flash available on him. Peke takes a bunch of bursts. Will he go down? Looks like not, thanks to the locket of the Orange Solari. And Peke now just pushing in with the team. They're into the base at this point as well. This could be the game for Fnatic.
Super minions out there. They're going to carry on with the pressure. If I hear anybody say the equalizer was nerfed, I think you can shove that because they stole Baron with equalizer. We've seen Kevin destroy EG with equalizer, and Fnatic are going to pick up the win after 2 team fights in 27 minutes. What a game. So close for so long. And 2 mistakes or 2 great plays secure them a victory.
It was so close for so long, and Soaz just turned that game around. A beautiful equalizer really tipped the game over for them. That Baron steal with a damage over time ability, that is hard to do, and he got it. That was ludicrous. They might have won the fight anyway, but still, that was a really nice, just sort of icing on the cake. Excellent move.
Congratulations to Fnatic. They hold that first position. Had they lost it, they would have gone to second, but they did not. So well played, and they stay first in the first split of the League of Legends Championship Series.
Now, of course, Against All Authority did put up a really good fight. They had a lot of awesome moves. It was only a few clutch plays on the other side that stopped them from winning. So I think certainly even with this loss, they can hold their heads high. I think they're pretty much still in the top 6, and I think we have a good last 2 weeks ahead of them for the French fans out there. Guys, enough from us. We've got some lovely analysts to break this game down for you. Joe and Jason, JJ, take it away.
Thanks a lot, Freak. A great game, actually. And as Freak said, that Against All Authority definitely shouldn't be feeling shameful after that one. They played amazingly well. It was close pretty much the entire way through. I mean, ending 17-10 on kills. What are your thoughts on that one, Jason?
Considering the start Against Authority had with Nono being forced to take Arcane Shift and flashing, Virtual having to flash, they played pretty well. They got the first turn of the game on that top lane. They just overall did extremely well, but it just seemed like the experience Fnatic had just overtook them as the game went on. Yeah,
and that's not something that you can take lightly, the experience of playing together. Obviously, Against Authority, you've had a roster change coming into this week of play. So for that, if you take that into consideration, they are looking very, very good at this stage. I think we can move into our replay here of this game, and that was the big fight around about 25 minutes in.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much the decider of the game, we have to say, because it was a complete ace for Fnatic, and like I said, 25 minutes in, 8-10 in favor of Against Authority, but the gold was in favor of Fnatic at 40,000 or 35,000. Let's get that on your screen, and I want to leave the entire overlay up just for a portion of this because it's very important. This is right after the Dragon, and you saw Against Authority, they're trying to push onto this mid turret. In the meantime, you saw Fnatic come in from the backside, and Virtual just, it seems like all Jarvans like to do this, where they just overextend a little bit too far, and he pays the price for it, and we'll show why. As he goes in onto N-rated, he eventually does EQ combo into the entire, well, not the entirety of Fnatic, but a huge portion of them, and because of this, we see Soaz come in, Soaz come in from the side, and then we have N-rated just pretty much contain all of Against Authority in this section, and because of that, Virtual ends up getting picked off. Freddy, I think, accidentally repels in a little bit, and they just go down one by one. And this is just, like I was saying, the experience about Fnatic. They knew this was a perfect engage for them to go for. They knew how to use all their ultimates together to really lock down Against Authority, and they got the ace and eventually the win because of it.
Yeah, and we have to mention in there that solar flare from N-rated again was absolutely on point. Locked the three of them up at the back. The equalizer came right on top of that, and wasn't the first time that we really saw that in the game. And that's what happens. You know, a lot of teams have been banning that Leona out against N-rated, and we see there exactly why.
Yeah, it's his comfort champion. It's who he's going to play. You saw it in the laning phase as well, where he got a nice kill on Freddy with his EQ combo, locked him down. You cannot give him that champion, and that's why teams are always banning it away. But, you know, even besides that, Against Authority, they still played a great game. It's just, I think they forgot a little bit about that combo of the Rumble. Just add it in with any kind of other slow, because that Rumble-Varus combo is just so strong. You throw in Leona with that to lock him down even further, you're not going to escape, at least with any health left.
And of course, that was an important one for Fnatic. The fact that if they would have lost that, they would have actually lost their top spot. But they won. A much-needed win for them to, you know, really boost their stranglehold on the league right now. They're, of course, still in first position. Against Authority, though, we have to say, definitely shouldn't be shamed from that result.
Yeah, I mean, it was one loss, but they've won 2 out of their 3 games with their new lineup. It's still a great thing to have, and hopefully it doesn't stop their momentum anyway. And I think they will retain their spot in the standings, I believe, at 6th place. And then over for Fnatic, like I said, hold on to first. And, you know, we have to crown an MVP of this game. And, you know, who did we give it to?
Well, it was a hard one to call, to be honest. There were a lot of, the kills were nicely spread, some great plays out of everyone. But in the end, we give it to N-rated. Those solar flares that we saw coming out from him were really, really on point. Okay, there were a couple of times where he got overextended down in that bottom lane when Against Authority actually managed to take him and Yellow Star out. But on the whole, you know, once he got to that team fighting phase, N-rated was really on point.
Yeah, every single Leona he's ever run has been perfect. I can mention the games versus EG, where it was that Soaz ran Blitzcrank top lane and he ran Leona, and he was calling the strats, but he also was letting every single Solar Flare, every single Zenith blade to get in there and lock the team down. And that just reminds everyone, hey, you know, you kind of let his Leona get back into the mix of things, and you can't do that.
So that's enough from us. We're going to go over to the main stage where Shox is waiting with XPK from Fnatic.
Yes, I am here at XPK. Indeed. Now, XPK, beginning of the game, you guys were down in kills 1-4, but even in gold and even up in gold. So how did the game go for you guys?
Well, there was a bit of mistake early, but we were, like, bottom lane dived them super hard for no reason and died. And I died mid because I didn't see Jarvan was level 6 already. But after that, we used focus and we were still equal in goal. And then we got a Drake and we were ahead. So we just needed to play safe, not make more mistakes, and we had the game, I think. We were way better in teamfights than they were.
Of course, a little downer after yesterday losing to Gambit. What happened there? What was the cause of it? I heard N-rated saying we were just uncoordinated.
Yeah, just against Gambit, it was just, I don't know. We were not coordinated at all. Like, we had this plan, but when they picked Fizz, it just went out of control. We didn't know what to do, but I think we should have played normal lanes. I should have gone mid, because I can lane against Fizz, but we wanted to destroy him, and we wanted to put you mid, but that worked the other way around. I got destroyed top, and he was two or three levels ahead of me. I was level 1, he was 3. I don't know. That was just bad. And after that, we were not that behind in goal. I checked the replay yesterday, and we were like 1,000 behind in goal, so we could have won it. But we felt like the game was lost, even if we were equal pretty much. So I think we should just focus, play safe, and not complain that the game was lost in 5 minutes.
Okay, so that game yesterday, but you're still in first place now in the rankings. Would you say that who is stronger if you both play your best right now, Gambit or Fnatic?
I think they're not playing their best right now, not all of them. So when they used to play their best before, they were better, but our best is really good as well. So I don't know. I think it will be a really close game.
All right, talking about the All-Star voting, you are currently leading the standings there. So is that your rightful place, and who of your team would you recommend to be voted for as well?
Poor Soas will need to be there. He's really good top laner. He always does good, and pretty much every game we play, he's doing good. So I think he deserves it. And of course, me.
Okay, thank you very much, Xpeke. Now, we'll be back after this short break, but before we do, of course, we still have our Twitter question for you to answer. Which player deserves to be on the All-Star team the most, and why? Tweet us your answer at LOL eSports, hashtag LCS, the same for any questions for the people at the analysis desk or at the caster's desk. Now, the Giants are on their way back up and even beat Gambit last week, and SK Gaming is in 3rd position in the rankings. Spanish Fury Ocelot and his squad up against the Spanish Armada after the break. Don't go anywhere.